Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Well, we're going to finish up the week with SCOTUS updates and how people are reacting and what I think they're going to try to do. And also, while that's happening, Paris is burning. But who's burning it? That's a question we can ask. And also, somebody else had a question. Jack Posobiec said, is it okay to ask now? Is it okay to ask who burned down Notre Dame? I watched some of the footage of those riots. We'll talk about that in a bit. But anyway, let me see who all's coming in. Hi, Rubber Toe. Hi, B-Dog. Finding Dory. How are you? So, yeah, who burned down Notre Dame? And I got a picture of Mike Shell and Barry O on a big yacht, supposedly in Greece. And next time I do a picture show, I'll put that up. We're looking at the back of somebody's head in that picture. I think it's Tom Stanks. So speaking of names like that, you notice I put in my thumbnail Stinky Jack, Black-Eyed Roberts, and then Contempt of Clarence and SCOTUS. I had a strange notion when I was listening to Mr. T. I got a kind of a constitutional question maybe you all could help me with. We'll get to that. French zoo liberated. Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. The problem a lot of people are seeing with that action in France is that a lot of people don't look like what I'd call a traditional Frenchman. And most of the arrests are like 18-year-olds. And they burned down a library that had manuscripts and books from medieval times. So, yeah. I don't know if it's a uprising of the French people or an attack on the culture. So, and who are these people that are being arrested in France? Who are they? Where are they from? How long have they been in the country? I think those are very good questions that we need to be asking. So, anyway, let me see who everybody else coming in. Oh, my. Hi, Isla. Let me see where I got to go way up here. Diane's here. Debbie, Alicia. We got two Debbies. Diane, Isla, B-Dog, Melinda, Reba, Gloria, Miss Mendersu, Lone Wolf. Okay, everybody's getting in. Lone Wolf 1. Yeah. So Nikki was on tonight. I hope she's feeling up to joining us. I guess you all watched Mr. T's speech. And as usual, it was interesting. And yeah, he does tell the same stories, but repetition, that's what they've been doing to us for over half a century. Ever since the Kennedy assassination, it's been the same. They don't call it Mockingbird for nothing. Say things over and over and over. It's very effective. If you watch Tucker's episode 8, you'll see how effective it is. You'll see how in the world could we have an admiral like the admiral he discusses. And he also talks about how this Rachel Levine and Mark Milley both went to the same college together. That ties into what I was talking about with Geraldo Rivera popping on the scene with the Kennedy assassination film, Michael Biden doing all these big-time autopsies, and the reporter, I forget her name, Andrea Mitchell. Somebody put in the comments, I don't have a screenshot of that Andrea Mitchell's father was chairman of the Federal Reserve. So we get all these things put together. I'm not saying anything that isn't true. I'm not going down rabbit holes. I'm telling the truth. So how you doing, William? Mr. T did say he could do anything he wants now. Well, not according to Stinky Jack. He's prepared to come up with indictments, 40-some counts relating to January 6th, and also counts in Florida. That's what is the word on the street is. Stinky Jack. That's what I call him. Tobin says Autopsy was a great show. My gosh. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I guess so. Hi, Linda. Hi, Damon. Camperman's in the house. So, anyway, so all those threads we just keep in the back of our mind. It seems like there's a group of people in news and entertainment that have been there for a long time, and they all sing the same song. And there are people in government that have been together for a long time, and they're involved in this attempt at permanently disfiguring our culture. And they're doing a pretty good job of it if you look at what they've done to at least 20% of our youth, as many studies have shown. One thing Mr. T did say tonight was that they were at war with God. At war with God. And whether they know it or not, especially to these 20% of the young people, when you declare yourself to be other than as your creator intended, whether you know it or not, you're at war with God. And that's a spiritual thing that's going to have to be addressed. Hi, Paula. You can't believe you're here. Well, where are you? I believe it. I believe you're where you are. I'm glad I caught you lying tonight. Well, Paula, that's interesting. Is that a typo? Hey, good nature typo. I don't know. But anyway, so I got a question for you guys. I've been harping on their attacks on the SCOTUS. That's why I put contempt for Clarence instead of contempt of court. Mr. T said he brought that up tonight too. I'm sure you all caught it. You said, hey, wait a minute, that's exactly what my man was saying for the past couple of weeks or month, that they're after the Supreme Court. He said that in the speech. And he also said they're after Clarence Thomas. And then he said, it's okay. He'll handle it. Or something to that effect. He'll handle that. And I thought, well, how's Clarence Thomas going to handle that? He's a member of a 9-member court. He's not the top justice, chief justice. And then I was thinking, I remember, and let's see how many people remember this little story in the chats. During 2020, and I got to watch how I say this, there were complaints sent up through the courts about what was happening in Pennsylvania. And that happens to be part of the circuit Samuel Alito is in charge of. And somebody forwarded a case up to the Supreme Court. And Samuel Alito put out an order saying that all the BALLOTS, right, were to be secured. Do you all remember that? And his order was violated. And I thought to myself, oh boy, something's going to happen now. Nothing ever happened of it. So I'm thinking, did Samuel Alito keep his powder dry? Was there something he could lawfully do about a violation of his order as a judge? What happens to people when they violate a court order? I know SCOTUS, it's a court. They're judges, they're justices, right? There's a difference, I expect, between a justice and a judge. But is there a scenario where Clarence Thomas could cite someone or a group or institution or whatever for contempt? What did they threaten Trump with if he broke their gag order? What did they threaten Robert Stone with if he broke their court orders? I'm just the way Mr. T brought that up. He mentioned Clarence Thomas specifically, and he said, "I'm not worried. He'll take care of them or that." So just a little something to think about. It might be a seldom used or never used power. But the reason I put black-eyed robbers, most everybody in the chats has seen the pictures of the Black Eye Club, and prominently in that group of pictures is John Roberts. So he went along with the majority about this affirmative action, getting rid of affirmative action. And right away, Harvard University put out a statement that an exception in the opinion authored by black-eyed robbers said that they could use race if it was, the jargon was something akin to if the applicant expressed or showed some impact of how race had affected them in their life. Something akin to that. I'm not sure the exact words. So Harvard University cited that from the opinion and said, we will follow the court's orders, kind of making fun, like it really doesn't affect them one bit, because all they got to do is get an applicant to say, I was oppressed in high school and I never got any chance. And all they got to do is put that kind of jargon in their application, and they supposedly meet Supreme Court's exception to the rule. So, black-eyed Roberts strikes by putting this inane little exception in there. And Harvard right away points it out and lets everybody know it's not going to change their policies one bit. So if the Supreme Court has some mechanism or method for an individual or group of people to be answerable for contempt of their orders, maybe that will be the next step. There's already been cases like in New York City. They violated New York City Supreme Court's rulings by, one was rehiring and reimbursing people that had been fired that didn't want to take the thing in the shoulder, right? What good is a court that has these ability to make these rulings and then bureaucrats to thumb their nose at the court? What recourse does the court have? Especially if the part of the executive branch that is there to enforce the law, namely attorney generals, or as in with the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, has been co-opted by people who have a problem with our Constitution. So what recourse do they have? Now, most Americans recently found out that Speaker of the House and the House of Representatives can have people arrested for contempt of Congress, for not showing up for subpoenas, and that they do have jail cells below the House of Representatives in the Capitol. What else can we learn about the judicial branch? What kind? I know they have the U.S. Marshals. Is it beyond that that the U.S. Marshals could be sent out to apprehend somebody that's been in contempt of a ruling? I don't know. Just an interesting thing. So we're going to see how that plays out. And the dynamic is interesting, especially when there was a report that came out today that the Supreme Court in Brazil ruled that for whatever specious reason, Bolsonaro could never run for president again. And in Brazil, you have a situation where the Supreme Court is constantly siding with the opposition party, even against the military. Against the executive that was holding the office and contesting the election. You had their SCOTUS infiltrated to the point where they were a member of the opposition for the executive branch. And the military was the odd man out. Well, what if you have got a different situation here, where SCOTUS and the military are on the same page, and the Biden administration is the odd man out? I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I can't imagine that what we're seeing, no enforcement of SCOTUS's safety, where you have people marching on houses in the dark of night of the residents of the Supreme Court, protesters gathering in the street outside their residence. We've never ever seen that, ever. So at some point they've got to defend themselves. Then you had Roberts put out a statement. He didn't want the justices sniping at each other, because Clarence Thomas was responding to what's her name, the one who's not a biologist, Ketanji Jackson Brown, or Brown Jackson, or whatever her name was. He was just refuting her opinion. That's what they do. That's why justices write dissents and concurring opinions, dissenting opinions. And Judge Roberts called that sniping. He didn't want to see that anymore. Well, isn't he sniping, Roberts? You don't see that kind of friction inside the court. That's right, B-Dog. National Guard deputized, that's right, into the U.S. Marshals, I believe. Cash Patel said, "Do it now," Debbie said. "Hi, Simpson. How are you?" So there's something bubbling. I just don't know what it is. I just found it interesting that that Mr. T would bring up Clarence Thomas being able to take care of himself, the people that are attacking him. And with this Stinky Jack wanting to bring charges about J6, well, that is exactly the type of reasoning that the court in Brazil is using to prohibit Bolsonaro from running by saying he was part of an insurrection. So, since they had their carbon copy of our J6, even had their own shaman there, perhaps Jack Smith's going to be angling for the very same thing. Try to charge him with I don't know how many counts of participating or inciting or exacerbating the events of J6, to use that to prohibit him from running. The chats are changed, Bubba. I don't know how that. Hi, Tennessee. How are you doing? I didn't know the chats had changed. Anyway, you get used to it. Looks like everybody's having a good time chatting. Hi, Donna. How are you? So, if I missed anybody, I apologize. But anyway, so they're angling for that with Mr. T, that he was somehow part of an armed insurrection, and the Constitution says if Nikki, you're not chopped liver. When did you jump in? I said hi. Didn't I say hi to you? Way up there in the line? No, I mentioned you. I said, I hope you got to come here because you've been on with Mr. T. Ian's the prime rib. Oh, Fancy Nancy popped up again. Crazy Nancy. Oh, your name's in red, Bubba said. Okay, well, I don't think it hurts you. But anyway, so they're going to try to pull that with Mr. T. And are they going to try to put their hands on him when they do that? Are they actually going to try to detain him physically somewhere? Because it's like two different states. All of it, from what I heard from special counsel Jack Smith. But remember what Trump said? He said he's going to have a real special counsel, really special when he gets in. So let's see how that goes. I'm just checking to see who all's coming in. So anyway, Dan Scavino put out that 20% of Americans are living under attorney generals that are picked by George Soros. And he put up a map showing how many people have to live in areas that the law is not enforced properly, or it is skewed against conservatives. And I don't know what your each one of your individual situations are, but I would be checking into the background. I mean, even right down to your county attorney. Are they local, where they're from, where they went to school? Because like I've said, this stuff started in the 90s, okay, with the infiltration of people who have been getting education from communist-centric colleges. And like that guy that was in the Patriot Front that got unmasked, and they got his picture, and he's, like, looking, and they got his background. Yeah, he's going to some liberal college. His social media is all full of anti-democratic garbage, and he plans on working for the government. Now, when they say government, it doesn't always mean federal government. They just want to get in some sort of government job, because that's like winning the lottery, folks. You can't. The rules of merit mean squat in a bureaucracy. Okay, and they get to stay there forever, and they get to influence policy. One thing I didn't care for, but it has to be said, is Trump said, if we don't win this one coming up, it's over. Did you catch that? He said it more than once. If we lose this one, it's over. But he said, we're not going to let them cheat. Now, who's we? I know he's including us. He says, with you all by my side. But I'm hoping, I'm not hoping, I know he's got the military in that we. Hi, Lori. Wine o'clock. Let me see what Bayou's got to say. How you doing, Bayou? Rather suspicious of the Trump-appointed majority Supreme Court to issue rulings completely ignoring a century of legal case precedents and utterly ignoring the U.S. Constitution as well to boot. Oh, I don't know. Let me see. Let me parse that comment a little bit. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you here. And do they think they're writing everything from scratch? Yeah, final battle. He said, Tennessee. That's true. Well, let me see. Bayou, I'm going to take your first comment if you don't mind. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just trying to get to the crux of what your concerns are. A Trump-appointed majority Supreme Court issued rulings completely ignoring a century of legal case precedents. What was a century of legal case precedents? A century is 100 years. Roe v. Wade was about 50 years. And affirmative action is nowhere in the Constitution. Equal treatment is racism, or making decisions based on race is unconstitutional. So I don't see where that is ignoring anything. It's enforcing the Constitution by disallowing race to be a factor. So no, they're not rewriting everything from scratch. They're enforcing what was already written, and the laws that had been, or the precedent of, or the behaviors of colleges, government agencies, of doing things that were politically correct but in conflict with the Constitution. Affirmative action is in conflict with the Constitution. So they're the ones who were writing things from scratch. Oh, let me see. Bayou says, this is hilarious to me. Where is hilarious? We got somebody named Hilarious. too. Ha ha ha. Let's see. Oh, well, Bayous is somebody who types rather than listens to my response. Are you that way, Bayou? Where you're trying to have your own show and where I'm giving you the courtesy of a response, you're busy typing something and not listening to my response? That's no way to have a conversation, Bayou. That's very naughty of you. So if you do that again, I'm going to time you out for 3 minutes. Don't ask me questions if you don't want the answer. And if you're here to clog up the chats with a bunch of your notions, okay, on my broadcast, I'm going to kick you out. Okay. No, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm very nicely trying to answer your question. And I discover that you're busy typing stuff like this. Oh, this always hilarious to me. This is being typed while I'm talking, folks, and I'm responding in an adult manner to a quote comment. We were Republicans in the 1800s who lived in New England and signed up to free the slaves and if need be die, protect federal authority over state. Okay, that's while I'm talking. And then Trumpers are hilarious. Not one Trumper would take a bullet for Jay-Z, much less a black human cattle at the time. Okay. Well, let me see if there's any more going on. Or are you listening to what I said? What I said was affirmative action policies in the government and in government-funded colleges are unconstitutional. They are enforcing the Constitution, not rewriting things from scratch. And my family was in this country before this country was a country, okay? And they were on the side to free, quote, free the slaves, okay? So you're not special. And if you can tell me how discriminating against any group, whether it's old school discrimination or modern school discrimination, reverse discrimination. Now you have the floor. How can you justify reverse racism if you're still around? Y'all would have been. So, well, now you're throwing around accusations. You don't know anybody in the chats by you. I mean, I appreciate somebody from a different point of view coming in the chats. I really do. But meet some people in the chats. You don't even know who you're throwing slurs at. You don't know any of these people. By you could be part of the chats and everybody learns something. But you know, if you attack people. Here we go. Doing their own show. Here we go. Another big comment. The Democrat Party began a state-right party which ensured commerce in the South heavily dependent on crops. All your ancestors lived in the South. You live in the South at that time. You don't know anything about me, young lady. Nothing. Zero. I could tell that by your comments. And you're apparently a holier than thou liberal, a limousine liberal, I would say. Here we go, boy. This is the Bayou Castle show. I'll just read her comments, and she's not listening to anybody, calling everybody in the chats a racist because they're all from the South, and all of us would have been Democrats back in the day. And let's see now. To continue, let me take a short break from the Bayou Castle show just to say this is a viewer-supported and creator-supported channel only. I've got a link for Buy Me a Coffee in the description if anybody would like to help the channel out, because it takes a lot of my time, effort, and energy to do a show for people like Bayou Castle, who doesn't want to listen and wants to call all the people in the chats 150 people that are racists when she hasn't met anybody in the chats and she types paragraph after paragraph of liberal talking points. So let me continue with her talking points. Right around the civil rights movement in Vietnam in the 50s and 60s, large numbers of party loyalists began shifting allegiance to the opposite party, and now the platforms are the polar opposite from their origins, which is a load of horseshit, Bayou Castle, because I was around then, okay, and I know who was what. All right. And if you all wouldn't ban such things as Gone with the Wind, okay, where you could learn and read actual history, if you wouldn't make fun of books and ban them like Uncle Tom's Cabin, who Abraham Lincoln gave 2 thumbs up to, and actually read the book, you would know a little bit more about our history and the type of people you're talking to in these chats, who you're trying to make enemies of. We don't want to be your enemy. We want you to hear our side, because I guarantee you, when you turn on that idiot chat box, my mom used to call it the idiot box, the TV, you're looking at people like Rachel Maddow, all these hardcore liberal radicals that spew this kind of stuff, which is patently false. Okay. So let's see, to continue. Hi, Carol. How are you doing? Yeah. Parties never flip, B-Dog. You're right. It's BS. That is old talking point from the Mockingbird media. Love to garden. Nice to see you too, blah. Yeah, try to defend reverse discrimination. Quit through. Oh, here she goes. Yes, they did. That's an extensively researched. So is gender identity. That's extensively researched too, and it is dysphoric nonsense. Let's see. It's been posted by Historian Live Science, who tailed all the White House and Senate members who flipped to the opposite side, like Harry Byrd. The Grand Cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. Harry Byrd. He was in the Senate during the Clinton administration. And Hillary Clinton is seen there shaking hands with him. They got pictures of him in his gaudy KKK outfit, hood, ribbons, shield, all that stuff. Democrat to the bone. So Bayou, you're listening. A historian. Research article posted by a historian on Live Science, like Bill Nye the Science Guy, who's telling everybody to get the thing put in their shoulder, and climate change is going to destroy everybody. A big bunch of nonsense and garbage. Can you imagine one tank gets blown up in Ukraine? The smoke and effluent that comes out of that. How many people driving a Toyota? What's the one everybody used to like? Camry. Everybody liked Camrys. You know, they had 4 doors and got great gas mileage. Just one tank getting blown up, sitting there burning. It would take a fleet of Camrys to run for 50 years to put out the same amount from one tank. So it's ridiculous, but people fall for it and they divide us. And I'm afraid, Bayou, that you're going to be very upset with life, because Mr. T's coming back, and the lies about him are going to be straightened out. He never did grab women. He never instigated or supported the Charlottesville. All those things were altered tapes. And like I said last night, if I believed everything that the media said about Trump, I wouldn't like him either. But I don't believe everything. So, yeah, Sherry's, the people are trying to tell you who they are, telling you about their families. we've got to get along as a country. And let me get to here. We got another one from Bayou. Talking while I'm talking. A modern liberal, but back then I would have been a member of the Republican Party. The Republican Party's never switched out. You're believing a lie, Bayou, and you're going to be really upset. I hope that you don't get yourself so distraught when Trump comes back that that you alienate your friends and family members, because maybe you will, but your prior comments, you're not going to make new friends calling people racist slurs. If my loyalties lie elsewhere, like where we had come from, I'd have been a treasonous member of the Whig Party. The Whig Party was way before the Civil War. I mean, that was back during the Revolutionary War. So I don't know. You need to look in your history books a little bit, Bayou. But you're welcome to be here. And I think that you need to. I think it would do good for you. It's your birthday, Miss Mendersu? Yeah. All the Trumpers on a slight. Okay, you're putting everybody in categories. All the Trumpers are not the slightest bit bothered by the Supreme Court ruling that both countered constitutional wording and a century. See now, Bayou, if you weren't typing, and folks, if you feel like this is messing up the chats, it's not, because I'm going to make a point to Bayou. Okay, that I've already made, but she didn't listen because she was typing out her own show. And this is her last chance to listen to facts and reason. Okay, Bayou? So keep your fingers off the screen of the phone. All right, and listen to me. There is no century of case law about affirmative action. That happened in the 1970s. Okay. All right. Supreme Court making rulings countered constitutional wording. Reverse racism and affirmative action are unconstitutional. Okay? That's two simple answers. And if we have a fundamental disagreement about logic, or do you feel there's more than one gender? Answer me that. Now let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Bayou. No matter what your views are on life, right to life, it is a fact the Supreme Court ripped away a right women have regarding their own health and a path to life that are forcing them to become brood mares. Well, that choice is made when somebody takes a roll in the hay, Bayou. And I'll tell you this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are guaranteed us. And the first word is life. Okay? And because a mother is carrying around a human being does not mean that the state does not have an interest in the human being that's being carried. We have an interest, okay, in human life. And to end human life, is a moral and criminal issue that will be handled by each state. It is not outlawed. It is turned back to the states. Now, she's here to mess up the show. I enjoy this back and forth. I enjoy it. And it's my broadcast, Awaken Trillium, not my show. I don't do shows. I do broadcasts. And it's not messing up my show. I want this every time I go on. I want this discussion because this country's got to get along. And Bayou, what did Lincoln say just before he was assassinated? We have to bind our nation's wounds. And are you reading anybody else's chats by you, people that are reaching out to you? That you may end up being a good friend, or do you want to be, pro tip, don't bother voting in 2024? Oh, okay. Well, okay, bye. Have a good life. Yeah, Localus 333, by you might want to read Declaration of Independence and writes the Constitution. Well, we won't let that happen. That was a quote from DJT today. We're not going to let that happen. All right. And when you ask a question, like I asked by you, let me make sure I don't want to say something that's not true. I asked by you a very specific question about their thoughts on this gender business. And I did not get an answer. And I would venture to say that because it's indefensible and that this person is supporting that notion, which would lead us to what these people are doing to kids mentally and physically. Love to Garden says, I'm voting. Yeah. Anyway, she claims she's gone. Maybe she's still listening. I don't know. But anyway, we're back. We're back, folks. We had a good discussion. I must say, I saw the views drop off. People didn't want to hear this back and forth. But we have to have discussions with each other as Americans. And we have to find out what's their point and how do we have an intelligence response to that point. And have a conversation. And well, for everybody that dropped off that didn't care for that back and forth, sorry. I mean, go watch a show that is, funny or tap dancing or an echo chamber where everybody's in agreement. Everybody's in agreement. Even families don't agree with each other. So anyway, well, that's what democracy is all about, Sinsin. Sounds like they want to be argumentative. That's what the Senate is for. That's why we have a House of Representatives. That's why we go vote. Voting is a form of argument. Debates, when we watch presidential debates, they're a form of argument. And why do we watch debates? We watch debates to learn, about the people that want to lead our country. And we might find out information that'll help us make better decisions about how our country is to be led. So maybe, not to pick on the person that was just in here, but people that come to listen to this program that are not in line with us may hear some points that are drawn out from me, or I notice in the chats people talking very nicely about their family history, their beliefs, U.S. history, and helping along with the argument in a civil manner. That's valuable. That is valuable. You can't buy that. You can't buy that. And now here we are on YouTube for free, having a robust conversation. And maybe a person who thinks that somebody having the right to abort a child anytime they want, upon reflection or upon reading comments, maybe they'll change their mind. And when they think about the words that I said, I repeat it: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That leads me to where I said one of the most evil words they did come up with was fetus. I found an article on that word, fetus. I believe it was 1848 is the first time, 1838 or 1848. I wasn't planning on talking about that tonight, so I don't have the article handy, but I do have it. 1848. Merriam-Webster used that term from I think, Scientific American or a publication like that. It was the description of a fully formed animal still in the mother's womb. And that was the definition until, guess when? 1999. They said a fully formed animal still in the mother's womb. They changed it to, in the case of human beings, up until the time of birth. So up until 1999, that description was for animals. We're not animals, we're humans. And as we know, there is a distinct difference between the human race and the animal kingdom. So people start to think that way. She called herself a broodmare. Are you an animal? No, you're not. You're a human being, a special, distinct human being with a soul. And God gave us dominion over animals and the earth to be good stewards to nature. But you're to compare yourself to an animal, that you're breeding cattle when you're carrying a precious human life. Maybe that kind of conversation will get people to think. No, you're not a chimp given birth. You're a human being, and so is your child. Haha, thank you, Dory. Finding Dory said, hit the like button. Where'd Bayou go? Let me see. I haven't been watching chats. I've been pontificating. Well, not many people, not many chats. Oh, well. That's right. Some horses don't want to be led to water down. Well, anyway, so we got Stinky Jack is going to be going after DJT, trying to say he participated in the insurrection. And if Bayou, if you're still out there, I got news for you. The whole thing was staged by operatives for the FBI and Nancy Pelosi, and it was all filmed by an executive for ABC, who also is the executive for ABC that threw away Amy Robarch's all the tapes and interviews and documentaries she did on Jeffrey Epstein way before he got arrested. She had a documentary exposing all that, and the same producer for ABC that threw that in a trash pail, covering up for Epstein Island, is the one who orchestrated the filming of J6 and that orchestrated coup that was blamed on Trumpers. So that's all coming out. If you're still out there, or if there's anybody like you still out there that needs to learn that. And I heard about an hour before I went live that some more footage has been released from J6. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm sure Debbie said Jack Black. I'm sure there's a photo of Jack with a black eye. So wait, let me see what's going on. So, all right. Yes, Nancy Peglosie's daughter was part of it too. But RFK Jr. backed out of the Moms for Liberty. Did you hear that? Did you hear about that? RFK Jr. backed out of the Moms for Liberty thing that Trump spoke at today. And I didn't want to make anybody mad because I think RFK was making good progress in exposing Dr. Fauci. And I also got to say that, I mean, if not picking on that specific individual, but to think you're like a cattle or a broodmare being treated like an animal, compare that to having be forced to put that thing over your face and be forced to get something in your shoulder numerous times. That's more like being treated like cattle. So I did like the way RFK was pointing out the flaws in the big pharma and Dr. Fauci, but I had mentioned in the past that he had socialist leanings. Okay, he was on the wider left side of liberalism, and he also repudiates this Supreme Court decision on affirmative action, reverse racism. He doesn't like it. So his job is to get people, the Democrats, to listen about this big pharma stuff that's being pulled on all of us. And he's fulfilling that job. And people that were saying it needs to be a Trump RFK ticket. Well, that ain't going to work. That's oil and water. He's more of a Bernie Sanders socialist, and he doesn't believe that ending reverse racism is a good thing. So that's not going to sit well with the Republican Party. But more power to RFK. He needs to try to get his party back away from the radicals and these people that talk about S3X in front of little ones, because that's going to be laws being enforced once Mr. T gets back in. And we know he's getting back in. And 81 million votes, my ass. Okay? I didn't even get to that point. Do the math, 81 plus 76 million. That equals more people than there are legally registered voters in this country. How does that happen? I didn't even get the chance to get an answer about that. Daggone it. See, they cut and run when you ask them certain questions. But maybe they'll come back in. If you're out there, you're always welcome back. Just kind of hold your fire on calling everybody in the world a racist. Let's see. Yeah, Nikki said, I know RFK doesn't line with Mr. T's views, and he has spoke publicly about it. Yes, he has. Space Force. Yeah, they're not going to get away with it again. They're not going to cheat again. They're just not going to get away with it. But we got a job to do. We got to turn out, and we got to turn out big. And where it's legal to ballot harvest. And I will put this, I'll discuss it more next time I go live, which will probably be Sunday. I'll go live maybe tomorrow if I get wild hair. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. But Mr. T is keeping clean hands. I'll get into that a little bit more in the future. What do I mean by clean hands? Okay, folks, I appreciate everybody that supported me. I appreciate you spending your precious time with me. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.